and wife as a country?
Well, one, we had a request of 1.5 billion. A request is a request, and that's what happens in budget. You ask for this, you are not given for what you have asked, you are given what is available. We are given 590 million. The office of the spouse of the deputy president, I found it there. I did not create it. It was there when Ruto was the deputy president for 10 years. So when we came, we found that office had been set up. And when we came with Pastor Dorcas, she identified a program to do. And I think it was a good program. I think the money was well spent. She came up with a program on fighting addiction, to drug abuse and rehabilitation. And through that program, a lot of lives were saved. Very many young boys were assisted. She came up with a program for PWD and for widows, wajane na mayatima. And I think it was a good program. Along the way, William Ruto removed that budget. That program died. Today, all the boys Gachagua had rehabilitated, most of them are back into drinking. It was a good program. I don't think essentially there is anything wrong with having activities of a spouse of a social nature that is not anything the government can address on a daily basis. Things to do with humanity, things to do with empathy, and you cannot say that those issues don't need to be addressed. The issue of the boy child, the issue of drug addiction is a serious issue. And if you are around in this country, it's a serious crisis. And many Kenyans miss mama boys because many people were afraid to talk about their children having drug addiction because of the stigma. But when Mama Gachagua started talking about it, even very senior people, approached her to say, Mama, we have a problem here. We have been shy to acknowledge that our children are having a problem. And as we speak today, the boy child is under siege. Our kids have very many mental challenges. The level of depression in this country. There have been very many suicides by our young people because of peer pressure, because of lack of jobs, because of economic challenges. Somehow, somebody must address those challenges. There must be some Kenyans somewhere who can address that challenge. The issue of kids out in the streets who have been taking hard drugs and they need a motherly attention. Somebody must do it. And I'm very proud that when I was in office for 2 years, my spouse, Pastor Dorcas, filled that gap. And Kenyans were very happy. She was the darling of the Kenyan people. And many people have been asking. Even now, we are doing it on a smaller scale. We don't have a government budget. We have some money for ourselves as individuals. We have many friends who support us. Even now, we want to do some fundraising to try to raise about 100 million for Pastor Dorcas to continue doing what she was doing with the boy child. Try to help those young people to see whether they can get back on their feet and they can live a life of their own.
Okay.
So I'll have to take you back to some of the criticisms that you give Ruto, and you've just talked about it. Affordable housing, yes? You're talking about how this is just a scheme for Ruto to get rich. But if you go back in time, in 2023, you are quoted as telling people to ignore any naysayers when it comes to affordable housing.
Yes.
So you see, so you used to support it. Right now, you're outside, you're not supporting it. Even in 2024, just before the budget, before your impeachment and before the fallout became public, you are still supporting the finance bill 2024.
No,
and then
I was not.
If you are to skip, we'd still go back to, you just talked about the budget for Uhuru State House. You said the budget was?
4.5.
And what was your budget when you are deputy president?
I think about 4 billion.
You see, 4.57. You understand? So this shows that when you are in a public office, you don't care about the wastage. When you're outside, you see the wastage. You see, that's also is the problem we have with the present government, where before waingia, it's we are going to change this, we are going to change this, as soon as you are inside. Because 4.57 for the deputy president's office.
But you must know about that 4.5 billion.
This was for travel and hospitality was to be used, 1.8 billion was to be used on in something called the luxury budget. And this is something that I normally talk about. Like, we live in a third world country. We have Kenyans who, like right now as we talk, there's a Kenyan who slept hungry. How can the leaders have a luxury budget? You understand how it's such a slap in the face?
Let me
like developed countries don't have luxury budgets.
Let me correct you. The budget for the office of the deputy president was in office was a wholesome budget. About 2 billion shillings was salaries for workers. And this is an office that has been set up with so many activities. We had coordination of international development partners, a very important program where you harness funds by the donors and unlock where there are challenges. That requires funding. We had funding for tea and coffee reforms, very, very important programs that are beneficial to the Kenyan farmers. We had a small budget for fighting alcoholism and drugs, As far as I'm concerned, my hospitality budget was very little, if I can remember. My budget for traveling was quite little. In fact, for the longest, I tried to use military choppers that had no expense instead of hiring choppers. But I am saying the State House budget, most of it is hospitality, and that is where we have a problem. Most of it is hospitality. Most of it is travel, And I want to correct you. I opposed the finance bill from day one. I never supported the finance bill. And even when I went out and I advised MPs to listen to the ground, and they started fighting me. I say, my friend, this finance bill, before you commit yourself on the voting day in Parliament, listen to the ground, listen to the people. And I became very unpopular with the MPs because the president was coercing them to pass the finance bill. Only a fool does not change his mind. I'm not a fool. Life is dynamic. Life is not static. I want to tell you that President Ruto had convinced me and many other Kenyans that the housing program was a good thing, and it would create employment for very many young people, and it will settle people, who have no housing. I was persuaded and I was defending it until it came to my knowledge, because I was part of government, that this was no longer the case. It was meant to collect money from Kenyan taxpayers so that there are enough houses to be built so that we can create business opportunities for selling cement, steel, and tiles. Again, I have told you my leadership is informed by listening to the people. What we thought is a good program, the people are saying no. I went to the president, I said, these people here are building houses, what they don't want. They don't want to be taxed. They want to be left to build their own houses. They want us to build schools. They want us to pay money to teach us to teach them. They want us to build roads. They want us to give them clean water. They want electricity. They are not interested in housing. So it doesn't mean because I was supporting something, even if I realize it is bad, I support it to the head. I must change my mind when there are enough reasons and circumstances to persuade me otherwise. That's the nature of life. You cannot just stick to one position. If there are glaring circumstances and factors telling you that the stand you have been having is ill-informed, and these are the new facts, can you change your mind and give a different position? Yes. William Ruto himself, he had told us Raila is a problem of this country. Along the way, he changed his mind and he said he's a good guy. That's how dynamic life is.
Yes, I understand that how life is dynamic, but I was just looking at that, like a lot of the things that you say you are against, we've learned about that after you left government. You see, like something like extrajudicial killings.
No, I spoke extrajudicial killing. I spoke when I was in government on the 26th of June. I would like you to Google in Mombasa as deputy president. I left office 4 months later. Yes. I spoke when I was in office.
Yes,
I condemned extrajudicial killing. I condemned the Director General of NIS. I condemned William Ruto when I was in office. I did not speak after I left office.
Yes,
I'd like you to check that.
Yes, but this was when the same extrajudicial killings happened in 2023. You didn't talk about it. Understand?
Well, I told you I was talking internally. I was deputy president. You don't fight with your boss publicly until you've come to the conclusion that it is not possible to correct him internally. I tried to correct him internally. So through persuasion, through reasoning,
yes,
until we reached a place now, it became too much. I needed to speak out.
You don't remember the videos that used to be posted on your Instagram, Twitter, where you are going very early in the office because of protests. You understand?
I
Those ones
I was not going early because of protests. I was going early every day.
Yes, but this was being looked at as a mockery to the protesters. And a lot of protesters lost their lives around that time. But even if we were to move from that, the reason why I was bringing up the protesters was to bring up the budget thing, where if we talk about wastage of public funds, and when I was looking at your budget here, the 4.57, part of it was to be used on furniture and cars. You understand? And when's the last time you changed this furniture? Why is government furniture always changed?
Well, I cannot. When I came to office, that the budget for that office had been cut for 5 years when Uhuru Kenyatta disagreed with William Ruto. There were no vehicles, or the vehicles were dilapidated, and we needed vehicles to move around the country, so we had to purchase new vehicles. That house and that office had not been renovated for 5 years. And if you don't renovate a house, it will crumble. Even these houses, we repair them every 2 years, because that's the nature of buildings. There must be maintenance of government buildings. Those offices had been neglected for 5 years. And when I came, I looked for a budget to have them renovated so that they are usable and they don't get wasted.
What was so bad that needed to be renovated?
Everything was bad.
Sorry to ask, but
the house was leaking. The house was leaking. The toilets were broken, and there was no borehole. It was broken. There was no water. The water was being brought by tankers. It was in very bad state.
So should we also assume that it's the same case with State House? Because we've seen the budget go up, but there have been renovations
State House
happening.
had not been neglected because Uhuru was there and it was well maintained. Yeah, he denied William Ruto money for 5 years, which was also not right because he was deputy president. The office had been denied budget for 5 years. So really, it was in very bad state, and it was necessary to have it restored so that the office can function normally.
How big is that office that needs billions to renovate?
There are no billions. There's no billions.
Needed
it was
like
100 and something million.
But sasa tukiangalia hapa, these are the budgets we're seeing.
What is the budget?
Seeing like,
what is the budget for maintenance of office? It's 100 million.
Was it 100 million?
Yeah, it is.
Imeruka, but it
is.
When we look at
this... No, let's be specific. Don't say it's billions. Yeah. I believe it was 100 million.
Because what I know is you lost 1.8 billion for travel and hospitality. So you see when we look at hospitality, we don't care if it's happening at State House or if it's happening in Wamunyoro. We look at the fact that it's coming from the
let's
taxpayer.
talk about maintenance of building, because you are saying it's billions.
No.
It's just about 100 billion.
Because here, I was looking at the budget. So your budget was 4.57 billion.
Yeah, but it is full of so many components, including salaries and allowances.
Let's go down. So this is brought back to 2.69 billion. So inclusive of salaries, how many employees did you have?
I can't remember.
You understand? And how much are they getting paid? Is each getting paid a million shillings? Because if we take 2.69 billion, if you have 1,000 employees, each would have to get around 2.69 million.
I don't think it is fair to ask me how many employees are there or how much they are paid, because I don't have such details. Yes. As deputy president, you have people who work under you. You have the chief of staff. You have people in human resource. An office is established by the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
It is not you who decides what is the establishment. And I did not start that office. That was an office that was functional for the last 10 years. It was not a new office.
Yes.
I found it going on, and employees there, and were being paid before I came to office. They were being paid when I'm in office. And those are salaries that are not coming to me. The only thing you can ask me is my own salary, which is about 1 million shillings. The rest of the salaries go to other people. And they are public servants. And even when I left, they are still there.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still there.
I've Googled, and it's 542 employees. And this is the things we'd have to ask, like, why do you need this amount of employees? And if they are taking up a salary that goes into billions, don't you see there's a certain level of incompetence that comes with that?
I think you are a bit unreasonable in the sense that you must know every office has a structure and an establishment that is approved by the Public Service Commission. That establishment is informed by the activities in that office.
Yes.
The office of the deputy president has very many activities. And if there are 500 employees, Somebody must have sat down and decided that that's the right establishment. That decision is not made by the deputy president. That decision is made by the Public Service Commission.
But we
so
talk-
you
talk
cannot
about
ask
skills.
you cannot ask the person who was in that office why there are 500 employees, because that is not his decision.
But
No,
let me align it.
Acha nini, ya mwisho pole. I'm asking you that because when you left office, you left with 108 people. What are 108 people advising you about? So these were like your advisors and officials. It's too much.
They were not 100. If there were 108,
That's how it was reported in the
yeah,
media.
they sacked even the gardeners and the watchmen and the cooks and everybody who was there, who came when I was there, which was very unfair.
Street and senior
because
officers-
gardeners,
Then those
gardeners,
are not PSC employees, of course.
they are PSC employees, but they were on contract, and the contract was tied to my contract. Okay? What happens is that when you come in, there are certain cadres that are tied to your contract. So when mine left, they were exited and others were brought in, which was very unfair. These gardeners, if you needed to punish regarding Gachagua, there was no need to punish the people who sweep around the compound. There is no need to punish the people who make tea, the people who are in communication, photographers, videographers. Those are the people who are sacked with me.
Because here it's written it's advisors and senior officers.
No.
It's not.
Advisors were very few.
How many?
I wouldn't know how many there were, but there were very few.
Yeah.
Extremely few.
Yeah,
The people, the
advice.
bulk of the people was communication and subordinate staff. People who are looking after the compound. It's a huge compound, almost 25 acres. People who are there. People who are cleaning cars, drivers, cooks, people who are in hospitality,
But
making
why,
tea.
why would those people have been employed by you directly? Because those
Not
ones
me.
should come with the
By
office.
the office.
But how can they be fired?
No,
then?
that is a law. That is a law. At a certain position when you come in, there are certain cadre that you are allowed to recruit in your tenure.
Okay. That I
And you see what happened.
You
see the previous one held when the ones who are there, their contract was tied to the tenure of William Ruto. So
Yes.
when he left, they left. Those jobs needed to be
So
done.
even
by
the
other
gardeners left or
people. Yeah, they did.
Ruto?
They did.
Okay.
Their contracts expired.
Okay.
You see
Yeah.
when Africa is raising such things, these are the things that are making the larger part of the population of Kenya very angry, because it's a population of the young people. But then instead of creating spaces where we develop a country, we just have a replication of, roles, perhaps. The bigger question would be then, you want to lead this country, how different would you do it, and how would you deal with this youth bulge? Because you have a big population of about 70% who are young people and jobless.
Now I think we are talking. I think now we are living nitty-gritties that are really, in my view, not very necessary. What do we do with our young population? That's the crux of the matter. It's actually a national crisis. And I have been with some young people who came to see me yesterday, content creators. We've been together, we spent the whole night together, just asking ourselves, what do we do with the youth question? The people who are graduating every day to the job market, it's about 1 million people. And there is no absorption capacity. And I am saying that from where I sit, my first priority as president is to sit down with my people to come up with a very clear program on how to create job opportunities. And one of the ways is import substitution, so that we stop importing everything from China, from Japan, from where, and create factories here so that we can create employment. And once you create employment here, you also automatically enlarge the tax bracket, because those people who are employed, they start paying pay as you earn, and that will help, the Kenya Revenue Authority to get revenue for development. So we must look at ways of how to stop importing things and try to impress upon foreigners, instead of us importing steel from China, to come and create a factory here to produce steel, so that the people who own that factory can employ our young people to work there. Agro-processing, value addition. There are very many great opportunities in this country where we can create employment for our young population. Again, we must look at issues of financial inclusion. Not everybody must get a white-collar job. Our young people are very innovative and they are very creative. I've just been talking to them. What we need to come up with is a very good program on how we can provide affordable credit to our young people and train them on how to manage those funds so that they can create jobs for themselves and for their brothers and sisters and their friends and their cousins. So as far as I'm concerned, the greatest challenge to any leader and to the 6th President of the Republic of Kenya is how to create more job opportunities. It is how to get our young population to become participants in the economic growth of this country. As it is today, they are just there at home, and that is why they are getting into problems. Through peer pressure, they get involved into alcoholism, into drug abuse. Others are committing suicide. Others are having depression. The new government must be very deliberate in trying to create opportunities for our young people, you know? And I believe that those opportunities exist. It's only that there must be political goodwill. We must have a government that is willing to go out of its way to create opportunities for our young people. And this will be done through manufacturing, agro-processing, where we can start small cottage industries, even in the rural areas, you know, where we can have a coffee popping machine, you know, where we can have people packing tea, where we can have people packing avocado, where we just create opportunities through agro-processing and value addition for our crops, because Kenya is basically an agricultural country and there are very many opportunities. Again, is where the Judiciary sector, we make sure that we are not having foreigners competing with our people. It cannot be. Today, when you go to Gekomba and Kamukunji, the Chinese have taken over our economy. They are bringing things and they are also hawking the same. Instead of bringing whatever they are bringing and sell to our people to hawk and create a business opportunity, they are actually doing the hawking themselves. But I'm of the opinion, to the extent possible, we have import substitution. Anything that we can manufacture in this country, instead of importing from China, we go there and have a conversation with the Chinese investors, give them tax holidays, give them economic incentives to come and start those factories here in Nairobi. Transfer the factory from Beijing to Nairobi or Mombasa. Same factory, instead of doing it there and giving work to the Chinese people, bring the factory here in Nairobi and they can employ the people of Kenya. That is what I would be pursuing, and I'm persuaded that within 5 years, we would make remarkable progress and absorb a huge population of our young people into gainful employment.
Okay,
See,
sorry.
we've
let
had
me
these
just
promises
finish
before.
this. Before we go to the promises, the question would be, you are making this decision for the young people as the older generation, and you're saying you've been talking to the young people. What is the place of the young people in this decision making such that they're not on the menu to be consumed, but they are the people coming up with the menu?
Absolutely. Last night, one of a guy I had, he's called Chris Kirubi. He interviewed me. We had more than 14,000 people watching the program. And he told me, Rigiji, we love you, we trust you. But believe you me, if you give you this job and you let us down, we will turn against you the way we have turned against Ruto. I'm aware that these people cannot take promises. They want action. My very honest proposal to the young people, and I'm talking to them, we want them to be part of the decision-making process. We want them to come to the table so that we make these decisions together, so that when things go wrong, they don't bathe on my blood. We hang together. I am saying that the administration that I want to lead, the young people will be part of the decision-making process. I want to bring young people to work with experienced people. I want to have a blend of experience and proven track record, working with youthful, energetic, innovative young people. A combination of the two is what this country needs. Experienced old hearts, people who have seen it, who can mentor young people, And then the young people have the energy to drive what has been agreed on. They are innovative, they are creative, they are knowledgeable, they have exposure. I am proposing a government that has a mixture of experienced, tested group of people working together with young, energetic, creative, young people. I don't think with a combination of the two we can get it wrong. I am persuaded we cannot get it wrong. If you come to my party, DCP, I've already started our model. Out of the national executive of 32 people, 17 are below the age of 35. DCP has become the party of the moment, courtesy of those young people. They challenge us with great ideas every day. I've told you since yesterday, I've spent 2 days with the young people. If you look at TikTok, you see the programs we are making with them. And I'm a better person than I was before I came to Nyeri yesterday. I have known many things I did not know. Courtesy of engaging, listening, and taking seriously what the young people are saying. My administration will be made up of both. And the young people will be part of the decision-making process. They will be on the table, they will not be the menu. And they will drive the changes that we so desire. And I have told them very clearly that they must start by driving the change that we desire. And they have the capacity and the numbers. They are the majority in this country. They are incorruptible. They cannot be bribed by anybody. They are tribeless. And they have a determination and a zeal that has not been witnessed in this country since independence. I have told them their first job is to register as voters and come out and vote. I have told them in the process of voting for Gachagua, they must also vote for themselves. They must run for the positions that are available. They must occupy the county assemblies. They are graduates. They can go there and make good laws for their counties. They must run for National Assembly positions. They must run for the Senate. You know, if really are not able to run for the governor, no problem. But at least the county assembly, the National Assembly and the Senate, we should have very youthful faces in the next dispensation. Again, in my administration, in the executive, I'll bring them in as principal secretaries, as ambassadors, as CEOs of state parastatals. And I can tell you, only a fool can ignore the young population. I must tell you, without an iota of doubt, listening to these young people, most of them know much more than I do. I have lived 61 years. I have listened to some people here 25 years, 26 years. I'm amazed by what they know. And I am that kind of leader who is not arrogant and who is not dismissive and who is not imposing, that I cannot be advised by young people. I have 2 young boys, 30-something, early 30s. They are the ones who will tell me what to do in terms of running our businesses. They know much more than I do. They are more informed. They are more exposed. And I listen to them very keenly. And I gain a lot. I'm a better person by working with them. So I'm not dismissive. There are leaders who dismiss these young people, that they know nothing. I am telling you here today on air, most young people I've discussed with, I must admit they know much more than I do.
Yes, before we I even ask you about the promises that I wanted to ask you, can you say, you've said like you learned a few things that the youth want that you didn't know before. So what did you learn yesterday? Like what stands out of everything you learned yesterday?
Well, the young people told me yesterday that never make difficult decisions in a hurry. Young people. I was opening my mouth listening to them. They said, if you decide you want to write a letter and dismiss a worker who has wronged you,
okay.
write the letter, but don't sign it.
Okay.
Sleep over it. If in the morning you still feel you should sack the worker, sign it. But they told me 9 out of 10 cases you not sign it, you have changed your mind.
Okay,
Those are young people telling me.
Okay, I thought it was like something political.
No.
So now, let's go back to the promises. I remember seeing Uhuru and standing next to stadiums. I remember Ruto telling us when he comes in, he's going to do 1, 2, 3 things. That's why you've talked about I concentrate on the nitty-gritties. That's the reason, because I've had this conversation before. Like when I listen to you right now, I can take your speech and put Ruto in 2022 and I'll get the same thing, where we are going to create jobs, we are going to bring manufacturing, we are going to, but it never happens. Understand? So there's a lot of youth even right now listening to you and they're like, we've had this before. So do you understand there's that disconnect between the political class and the average
So
Kenyan,
what do we do?
where the promises just don't make sense?
So do
Like
I,
we've-
because Ruto promised and never delivered, I cannot make a
Uhuru
promise?
also promised and never delivered.
No, I'm saying.
Remember the 5 stadiums?
I'm asking. The question is,
Yes.
does it mean because Uhuru and Ruto promised and they didn't,
Yes.
I shouldn't? I'm not Ruto. I'm not Uhuru. I'm Gachagua.
We need to. That's why we are concentrating on the nitty-gritties, because the
No,
nitty-gritties
but I'm saying
show
I'm
us.
not. I cannot be condemned because of the failures of Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto, because I'm not Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm not William Ruto. I'm Rigathi Gachagua. I'll be judged on my own record.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if, because for you to run for president, your case is dependent on the judiciary at the moment, right? What if the courts decide you can't run?
Well, let's cross the bridge when we get there. I don't believe in counting the chicks before they're hatched. Let's cross the bridge when we get there. That is a presupposition. I don't want to guess. I'm a presidential candidate. I'm clear in my mind that I'm an innocent man. I have every confidence the courts will find me innocent of all those charges, and I'll have my day in court. But I don't think I want to say what will happen if this happens or that doesn't happen. Let's cross the bridge when we get there.
So in line with that, of course, critics argue that the so-called united opposition may not get to 2027 together united.
That's William Ruto who says so. And there's
He's one of
supporters.
them. There are many other critics.
Well, we also say he'll go nowhere, and he says he'll get somewhere. This is politics. People can say anything. That is what they were saying in 2002. They were saying the opposition then is useless, and they cannot agree on one candidate, and they'll crabble, they'll fight. Then they agreed on Mwai Kibaki. The rest is history. We are hopeful. We are determined. We'll stay united to the end, and we'll give one presidential candidate. Our opponents have every right to doubt. They have every right to belittle us. They have every right to say we are stupid. They have every right to say we have no Sarah. They have every right to say we are thieves. That is the nature of politics. But that does not distract us from our focus. We are focused. We are going for it. We know what we need to do. And the people of Kenya have told us, you must stay together. You must stay united. We are determined not to let the people of Kenya down.
Do you understand how that brings a problem where you go on stage, you accuse Ruto of being a thief, he goes on stage and he accuses you of being a thief. And if you go back to the 2024 protest, that was one of the things that the Gen Z were saying. They were saying that they need clean leaders, leaders with integrity. So if I was to ask you right now as Rigathi Gachagua, would you say you're a leader of integrity?
Yes, I am, because I've stolen nothing.
Wow,
You know us, when we say what Ruto has stolen, we say it. Today, in the papers, they have stolen 10
Yes,
billion.
we'll
Listen,
talk
wait a minute.
Yes.
We are saying 10 billion have been stolen from e-citizen.
Yes.
We are saying 50 billion shillings have been lost in SHA.
Yes.
We are saying Kenya Pipeline has been sold for a song. We are saying Safaricom is being sold for a song. These are real issues that we are raising.
Okay.
William Ruto says we are thieves. What have we stolen?
Okay, let's go step by step. By 2022, you had a case where 200 million shillings of yours had been
That
frozen.
case was dismissed.
No, that's why we're going step by step. So 200 million had been frozen. Then you went on a debate with Martha Karua. What did you say your net worth was?
I don't think I want to get into that because.
But you understand?
No,
why?
I'm just
Because
saying.
the
I'm just saying.
audience,
I don't think it is right. I don't think
audience,
I don't think it is right.
If I don't ask,
I don't think it is right to talk about a case
can I
that was dismissed in court.
No. Can you let me? Nowadays, I think Gen Z says, "Let me land." So I want you to let me land. This is what I mean. My audience will, and I guess even her audience will demand that we ask this because it's about integrity. So The court case is happening. You're worth, you go and you debate Martha Karua. Do you remember what you said your net worth was?
I can't remember.
You said 800 million.
Yes, yes.
And 200 million had been taken. So we guessed that by that time you had 600 million.
Yes.
But then around the same time, you had a court case
Yes.
about a land next to JKIA.
Yes.
And you never mentioned that land.
Yes.
You understand? If I'm talking about my net worth and I have a case in court, if I mention the 200,000 shillings that's being held, I'll also mention the 1.5 billion piece of land. I can't say nikiwa, like the way we speak in Sheng, I can't say niko na thao mbili na saa hiyo kuna mtu
Well, the only difference,
na thao yangu 10. You understand? So
no,
with that,
the only difference, let me correct you. Let me
it
correct
means
you.
you're worth 2.3 billion.
Let me correct you. There's
Yes.
a very big difference between what I own as a person and what is owned by companies. That is owned by property. A limited liability company is a person on his own. That land is owned by a company. It's not my land. It's owned by a company. A company is a body corporate. So I talked about what I own as a person. Yeah, finished. And I am saying the laws of this country are very clear. You know, why do we have courts? We have courts to give justice. If somebody is accused of something and the court clears him, you cannot come 3 down the other line to ask me about it.
No, I'm not even asking that. What I'm asking is, okay, if it's owned by a company, you have to be owning a part of the shares in that company.
When the law, you see the law of public disclosure of your wealth, you declare what you own as regards Gachagua. This farm here called Karandi, this Omanyor here.
Yes.
The title deed belongs to Rigathi Gachagua. This house and this land is worth like 45 million. That I can always do a disclosure. I own. My Nairobi house is 150 million. It's my land.
Yes.
But what is owned by companies where other people are shareholders, that's not my wealth.
But you understand why the question of integrity is important. Do we agree on that? Question of integrity?
But I'm saying, in terms of asking people what they own, you say what you own as a person.
Okay. Because with that in mind, you saw the headlines today?
About?
So the headline this was on Capital FM. Derito Gachagua's family petitions Ruto seeking probe into alleged forged will, asset fraud and disinheritance of the late governor's estate by his brother. And I can see your brother is on this. So I know you are very close to your brother. But now there's this rumor that's going around, and it stayed there. It stayed since your impeachment. And the story is you disinherited your brother's family. So that's number one. None of your brother's family has ever come out to defend you. So it makes a very interesting situation. That's why, like last week when Ruto was talking about you, and then he talked about Eugene Wamalwa also disinheriting his brother's family, it brings up the question of integrity. You understand? Where if your brother can't trust you with his property and his family, how can we as Kenya trust you with our property? That's why I was telling you the question of integrity. Everything is interconnected. Yes?
My brother, we are in politics. And in politics, opponents say everything they want to say against their competitors. William Ruto is my competitor. William Ruto is not the patron of the Gachagua family. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's supposed to look after public assets. 10 billion shillings have been stolen in his citizen. He's not talking about, wait a minute, let me talk. He's not talking about it. Okay? 50 billion shillings have been stolen in Shah. He's not talking about it. He's talking about Nairobi Hospital, which is a private hospital. Wait a minute.
This is not him. Yes.
Which is a private hospital.
Yes.
He is talking about the Gachagua family. Family matters are solved by families, not by the President of the Republic of Kenya. Family matters are sorted out in court in case they are there. The law of succession, my brother, it's not a matter for the President of Kenya to handle. The law of succession is handled by courts of law. If anybody is dissatisfied by what is happening in a succession implementation, you don't go to the President of Kenya. You go to court. That is the law. because the president of Kenya has no authority over families. Family law says the law of succession. The late Ruto Gachagua died in the year 2017. He left a will. That will is studied at the Kenya School of Law as the most advanced will ever done in the Republic of Kenya that has taken care of everybody.
So you can get a copy of it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
The late Gachagua he wrote a will and gave his property to everybody. Not his wife or children alone. He gave his wife, 2 of them, and his children, 4 of them. He had other women in his life. He included them, 2 of them, and their children. He left a piece of his wealth to all his brothers and sisters, a total of 21 beneficiaries. He left a will and said all his properties should be sold and the proceeds distributed to the beneficiaries in a formula that he put down in his will. Some were getting 10%, others 5%, others 2%, others 3%. He left 3 executors, his lawyer, Njoroge Regeru, his longtime friend, Mwai Mathenge, and Rigathi Gachagua, his brother, as executors, with instructions to sell all his properties, pay his debts, there were many, and the balance distribute to the 21 beneficiaries in accordance with the formula.
So you didn't change any part of the will?
Yes, listen. The succession law says once a will has been read to the beneficiaries, you go to court. We went to court, all of us. And before the judge in 2018, all of us told the judge that we have agreed to the contents of the will. Okay? The court adopted the will. Okay? And allowed the executors to go ahead and execute it in accordance with the wishes of the deceased person. We embarked on that exercise as the executors and sold the properties, paid his debts, and distributed the balance to the beneficiaries in accordance with the wishes.
So
that happened in court 8 years ago. 8 years, nobody has ever spoken. All those beneficiaries have received the monies into their accounts and they never complained. William Ruto has decided to play politics with the Gachagua family. Met some of the family members yesterday and told them that he has the authority to recover most of the things that were sold and give them back to them. It is not possible. He's just lying to them. And it's okay. That matter was concluded in the court of law. Everybody was there before a judge. The records are there. And the judge asked each and every person by name, Rigathi Gachagua, do you agree? Yes. So and so, do you agree? Yes. The judge wrote it down and issued what you call a probate.
That was in
2018.
And that's public record?
Yes, public record. You know what is happening? Eh? William Ruto is playing politics. And because he wants to fight Rigathi Gachagua, Rigathi Gachagua has stolen nothing from the Kenyan public. Rigathi Gachagua is clean man. So he thinks he can come and interfere with family matters. One, he's meddlesome. This is our family. He's not a member of our family. Number 2, if there was a problem with the family estate, you go to court. You don't go to William Ruto. He's not a member of our family. He's also not the chief of this area. When you have a problem and you have no money to go to court, you go to the chief. If you have money, you go to court. This matter was concluded in court by consent. Nobody said no. And the records are there. Those 4, 5 people he met yesterday, all of them have received money. When we sold Olive Garden, the ones for 10%, they got 50 million. The ones for 5% got 25 million. Everybody has gotten their own money. So this is politics. And it's unfortunate that when our country has so many problems, the president has abandoned his work to look after the country. He is now meddling in families. He's meddling in private institutions like Nairobi Hospital. He is meddling in my family thinking he's fighting regarding Gachagua. I want to tell my relatives to be careful. That William Ruto misused me. He's misusing them. And they'll be very embarrassed when these documents come out in court, into the public, because they will be released. I've just talked to the family, our brother, my brother who is elder, the eldest one, he is very annoyed. And the other family, those are 4 beneficiaries. They are 21 beneficiaries. My brothers, my sisters. They have tried to reach them out to give them money to spoil my name. They have said they cannot. Blood is thicker than water. But a few family members have been conned by William Ruto. And I really sympathize with them because, one, I know they are having challenges, which is normal. I hear one of my niece has been promised a position in the board so that they can complain against, which is okay. If she can get something to eat, that's okay. I hear one of the ladies has been promised some business opportunities. I hear they were also given some little money, which is okay because I don't have money to give them. But I want to say the issue of the late Gachagua was concluded. The estate has been distributed. It's over. It's a closed matter. There's nothing remaining. Everything has been sold. Everybody has been given money. All of them have received. Nobody has ever complained. It is now 9 years since he died. Why has this matter all of a sudden come out? And it is William Ruto who is talking about it. He's not a member of our family. And that is not his work. His work is to look after Kenya. If there is a problem within any family in Kenya, families have a way they sort out their disputes. And there is none in my family. He's the one who is meddling in our family. He's the one who is trying to bribe people in my family to cause discord in my family. If you remember my sister, my brother, all prominent families have been fighting in court for years. The Gachagua family has never fought in court. His will was the best. He made sure he took care of everybody. My late mother, she was alive, he left her 5%. Regarding Gachagua, he left me 5%. His 2 wives, 5%. His other women he had, he left their children their property. His brothers, his sisters, there is nobody who has ever complained. And you have never seen our issues in the newspapers. Anytime you have heard about the Gachagua, it is from the politicians, not from the family members. And when now they realize that that is not happening, yesterday the member of parliament here called Wamombi, he took them to State House at 6:30 in a white Pajero owned by Susan Derito, one of my niece. And there the Ruto cheated them. He told them to sign some letters. Those are the letters that are circulating. I don't care. It's really nothing. It's hot air, it's politics. We'll dismantle it when my brother turns up and we meet as a family. We'll ask our lawyer to write back to the president and tell him to keep off our family. You are not part of our family.
How many nephews and nieces do you have from Derito?
I think 4.
4. So it's the 4 that have complained?
Yeah, I think so. But we have other beneficiaries. We have other children from Derito. We have his brothers. We have his sisters. We have everybody.
Since you've talked about the percentages, what percent were they getting that they feel dissatisfied? Because you see,
that is their father.
It was their father's.
You know, if they wanted to challenge the will, they should have challenged it then. They didn't. And they were given the opportunity in court before a judge. The judge asked, so-and-so, are you satisfied? Yes. So-and-so, are you satisfied? Yes. They should shut up and shut up forever. Or if they want to go to court, they go back to court. The window for appeal is over. Number 2, they did not dispute at that time. The matter is closed. They are just playing politics.
But in 2024, it was not closed. You remember it started?
No, I'm saying there were just accusations on politicians. The matter was closed a long time ago. All the properties were sold to third parties. And the money was distributed to them and they received the money.
So
and
this is
the
purely
documents
politics.
are there. Yeah.
So you're saying it's purely
politics is nonsense. It's William Ruto trying to meddle with my family because he has tried to fight me and it's not working. I'm a popular leader and Kenyans trust me. He wants to destroy my character and my integrity so that Kenyans stop listening to me. He has sent DCI to try to look for crime I've committed in Kenya. There is nothing.
Okay. There's also
he has now gone to the family, to tell the family, you come here, we can help you. All the things that were sold by the estate, you recover. Before anything was sold, there were meetings with the family. There are minutes. everybody was in agreement and nobody has ever had a problem. And all these children, all these wives have received the money and they have used it. And they were in court before a judge in 2018 called Achode, and all of them were there. It was recorded, and a probate was issued, and we were given the go-ahead to execute the will that was left by Gachagua. And the instructions were clear. Sell everything. I don't want to give anything to anybody. Sell everything. Pay my debts. The balance, distribute to the beneficiaries in accordance with the will. 10%, 5, 4, 3, 1.
Okay.
That was his wish.
So the other scandal that has kept coming actually was in last month. Yes, the president had a tour in Northeastern, and when you asked for accountability, there was a case where they kept saying that you're complaining because they're going to distribute relief food to the people on that side, and they kept saying that when you were DO, you had a scandal and you were sacked because you stole relief food.
But I'm asking you, my dear, I was a DO in. I left work in 2021. William Ruto picked me, 2001. He picked me to be his running mate. How many years later? 20.
Yes.
Didn't he know I had a case? He has only known I have a case now that I'm opposed to him. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. And criminal matters have no time limit. If I stole food, William Ruto can take me to court tomorrow. It's all nonsense. It's really a very desperate man, who is just spreading propaganda, And I have seen even him saying, some girls were impregnated, some girls were killed. They have been here trying to look for the relatives, we can give you 10 million, you say this, you say that. It's all nonsense. And I really don't want to bother with those things because those things have been said by bloggers opposed to me for the last 5 years. I'm very embarrassed when I see a president of a country picking content from bloggers and talking about it on top of a car. And a president of a country that is struggling, where people have been killed, people have been found in a mass grave, he's not addressing that issue. 43 people have been killed in a mass grave. He's not addressing that matter. The country has a debt of 12.9 trillion. He's not addressing that matter. He's addressing nonsense. That he can get in top of a car to say that a cow of somebody died because of a tick. Just how petty can a president be? When the country is struggling so much with so many problems. Kenyans are asking themselves, where did we go wrong? How can a president of a country be so petty, so reckless to handle personal issues of Kenyan citizens that are a result of rumors and gossip, instead of handling the real issues that are affecting the people of this country?
You understand also the fact, you say you left office in 2001 and he's bringing it up right now, 25 years later. Can you also understand him also can say that he was with you in 2022 and you never brought up Kiambaa, but lately you've brought up Kiambaa? You understand why it's the same sort of argument where if he was good enough to be a running mate...
Well, the only difference, the matter of Kiambaa is of public interest. He is bringing things that are of a personal nature. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya. Listen, my friend. But he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He has a responsibility to bring things that are of concern to the people of Kenya. Yeah? Personal things about a family. This is one family. There are more than 20 million families in Kenya who are having challenges. Why is he not bringing their challenges?
Okay.
It is only because he has a personal vendetta with me, because he knows I'm going to run him out of office.
So let me ask you.
Replace him as president. What is happening is he is on a mission to spoil my name, because Kenyans trust me. Kenyans are listening to me. But I can tell you Kenyans are also very intelligent. I have looked at the social media responses. He is being told, tell us about Kenya. And tell us about families.
And the same Kenyans are saying you could actually be working with President Ruto on the side.
To do what?
It's politics, as you said.
How could I be working with him on the side? I want to remove him from power. And he is resisting. And he is feeling the heat from me.
So if he approached you, would you work with President Ruto again?
I cannot work with William Ruto. He is wrong for this country. He is responsible for the hole we are in as a country. Mwai Kibaki left us a working free primary education program. He has ruined it. We had a good program for university financing, help. He has ruined it. We had a working NHIF program. He has ruined it. He has abducted children. They have been killed. How can I work with such a man? I have no business.
But you see, you said he has abducted children, he has killed them. Let's go back to Kiambaa. You wouldn't say that you didn't know about Kiambaa in 2007. He's always been the main suspect in quotes. And you worked with him.
Yes,
you
we did.
endorsed him.
We did.
You said this is the best
We
guy
did,
to
we
lead
did,
Kenya.
we did.
You can't then come back a few years later after you fought with him to say now Kiambaa
No,
is
I
an
can.
issue.
Let me
Because it means-
tell you why.
let me finish my point. It means that you will tolerate anything as long as you're on the side of that person.
Not necessarily.
And as soon as
Not
you're on
necessarily.
different sides, you'll be like,
Not
nah,
necessarily.
this is the worst guy.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian. Forgiveness is a very important aspect of our Christianity.
So you took back your forgiveness.
I'm saying, listen to me. I think it's fair you also let me speak.
Yes.
It's a very important aspect of our Christianity. I and my people, the Kikuyu nation, were feeling very bad about Kiambaa and the 2000 atrocities, whose Ruto was charged with crimes against humanity. But Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta came together, forgave each other, and asked the two communities to forgive each other. And we said, we'll forgive, but we will not forget. And we said, let bygones be bygones. And we left it. And we believed, honestly, that William Ruto was a changed man. And anybody can change. Saul can become Paul. And he was sweet-talking, and we were convinced he's a changed man, and he cannot go back to his ways. But the minute he got into office, abductions started and extrajudicial killings. Then it came to our knowledge that he had not changed. He's still the same man. So we started remembering the old things. Normally, that's how life works. If you forgive somebody over something that they did to you, and they say they will never do it again, then they do something similar, you remember the old things that happened. That's how we talk about Kiambaa. And actually, what has brought about Kiambaa is not even the killing of the Gen Zs or the abductions. It's the attack on churches by goons and police. The attack of PCA Mweki by goons supervised by police. The attack of PCA Kariobangi by goons helped by police. The attack of ACK Wetima Church in Othaya by police. That is what reminded us that this is the same William Ruto who attacked women and children in church in Kiambaa. Actually, that is what brought back the memories of Kiambaa. It's something that we had wanted to forget. But the minute he started attacking churches, and we are saying he's the one because investigations have been done, and he has stopped prosecution of those involved, despite the fact that they are known. So we are saying he's the one. It is the attacks of the churches around this area that have brought back the memories of Kiambaa. That is how we are talking about Kiambaa.
So it's not about the... So now, have you stopped forgiving him? And should the Kikuyu community stop forgiving him?
No, we
And
cannot.
are
We cannot forgive.
Are we going to go back to that where as long as we are working together and make forgive, tukiacha work together? Because I'd have to go back to the speech. I always go back to the acceptance speech of Ruto. It was one of the most very interesting acceptance speech. And you were there. Remember, he talked about extrajudicial killings. And he said, as soon as we take over, these things are going to stop. That means that they used to happen before him. And you never blamed Uhuru for them. Understand? So now, why is it different with him? Why is it now these extrajudicial killings? Because like right now, you just said Uhuru is your brother. You can work together. You can what. But when you are coming back, even on the inauguration day, you also remember your speech. There are a few people who took it like it was a little bit disrespectful to Uhuru, if you remember that.
True.
So can you see why now it's hard for me to take your word 100% that...
Well, you don't have to take my words 100%. That's why we have a debate.
Yes.
You take what you think is right. What you think is not right, you don't have to take. You don't have to agree with me 100%.
Yes.
Ruto talked about extrajudicial killing, and I believed him. The minute he started doing it, I disagreed with him. That's the reason why we disagreed. Because I believed him. I believed he was sincere, like I was. I don't believe in that nonsense called extrajudicial killing. Kenya is a country of rule of law. If somebody has committed a crime, arrest him, take him to court, prosecute him, let the court mete out a sentence if he is guilty. But killing people without going through the legal process is unacceptable. And I've explained to you that is why I disagreed with him, and I cannot agree with him. And I also now know he is deceptive, so I cannot agree to anything he tells me anymore.
So how different, if you were to get in power, would you deal with the security sector in Kenya? Because it's a problem, especially with goons in political spaces.
Goonism is the legacy of William Ruto. Goons are part and parcel of the Kenya Police Service now.
Well, they've been there even before.
And we are saying, I am now persuaded that when Ruto sent our police officers to Haiti, we thought they are going to help the people of Haiti to deal with the criminal gangs. Little did we know that they were going there for benchmarking, to know how goons can run a country. The city of Nairobi is run by goons. Even when William Ruto is in town, there are goons in tow, robbing people when he can see. And nothing is done to them. The governor of Nairobi works with goons. PS Remo Domoro works with goons. I have been attacked by goons more than 24 times, and none has been arrested. I want to say this. Kenya is a country of the rule of law. President Rigathi Gachagua would make sure that the rule of law is upheld in this country. And I will tell the Inspector General of Police that he must work with 5 documents only and nothing else. The Constitution of Kenya, 2010, the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75, the Penal Code, Cap 63, the Evidence Act, Cap 80, and the Police Standing Orders. That's all. And if the police follow those 5 documents, we'll have no problem. If anybody has committed a crime, why do you want to assassinate that person? Why do you want to abduct and kill that person without going through the judicial system? If anybody has committed any crime, that is in the Penal Code, arrest that person in accordance with the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75. Put that person before court. And using Cap 80, the Evidence Act, adduce evidence before a court of law. If the magistrate or the judge is so convinced beyond reasonable doubt that a criminal offense has been committed, the Penal Code provides sentences that are there in law. And that person will either be fined, go to prison for a certain period, or both. But let no police officer decide and be the police, the judge, and the executioner. It cannot happen. We must have separation. Police arrest you, DPP prosecute you, the judge makes the decision, the prison jails you. That's the way it works. But we are having people who want to be the police, the judge, and the executioner. It cannot happen.
And
it's against the law.
How independent would the judiciary be? And would you say that the judiciary has been independent under Ruto?
To a certain extent, the judges have really tried. And I must commend them. Because you have seen many times Ruto has violated the Constitution and done many things against the Constitution, and the courts have said no, they have stopped it. And I really want to commend the judiciary. I know there are always attempts to twist the judiciary in a certain way, denying them funds, denying them cars, denying them security, intimidating the Chief Justice. But I want to appeal to the Kenyan judiciary to stay steadfast as the last line of defense for the Kenyan people. Let them uphold the Constitution and make sure the letter and the spirit of the Constitution is followed to the letter.
What is your take about the office of the DPP and how it operates?
I don't think they are fairly independent because I have seen many attempts to prosecute people because of their political stand. I have seen a lot of governors. You saw the governor of Trans Nzoia was taken to court by the DPP. And the High Court has ruled is a violation of his constitutional right and have stopped the proceedings and said actually he should be paid. I have seen the DPP being muzzled by the executive to prosecute people for political reasons and to deny them their freedom to make political decisions. Especially our governors are under a lot of siege. Many governors would want to be in one term fear because the DPP has been used to intimidate them.
Because the reason I'm asking you about the independence of the judiciary is when Uhuru was president, a lot of people that ended up in Ruto's government were facing cases, yes? So you had your case. Aisha Jumwa had a case. I think hers was a murder case. And Linturi had an attempted rape case. All these cases got dropped as soon as Ruto became president.
Yes. Most of those cases.
That shows that
No,
it
no,
was
no.
not,
The
it was not an independent
DPP
judiciary.
under Uhuru was not independent. The DPP under Ruto has not been independent.
How-
Why
Even when
most
you
of
were
those
there?
cases? Why most of those cases were dropped is because they were political. In fact, in my case, the DCI saw an affidavit to say that they were pressurized to prosecute me without evidence, and that is how I was let off the hook.
So it was not because you had become the deputy president.
No, it is because they had filed a case against me without evidence and they were being pressurized. And they didn't like it. So the minute I came in, the people who was pressurized them had left. So they were free now to exercise their mind. The DCI saw an affidavit to say we had no evidence against this man. We want the cases to be dropped. And that was it.
So how would you say that a rape case was political? Because either someone was naked and someone walked in. Or there was
Now,
no-
we
understand?
cannot go into the merits or the demerits
Yes,
of a rape
and
case
then
because, no,
with the-
my
with-
friend,
with the
let's
Aisha
not
Jumwa
go that
case-
direction because you can only say there is a rape case when it has been concluded.
There was an attempted.
An allegation is an allegation. What happens before a court of law? Everybody is innocent until proved guilty. You cannot say because it has been alleged that you raped somebody, you have raped somebody. It has to go through the rigors of prosecution and it has to be proved. In that matter, the case was never heard and then it was terminated. So you cannot say somebody had been raped because it has not been
No,
proven.
it was attempted rape.
No, whatever it is
okay.
attempted,
Yes, yes.
even if it's attempted,
Yes.
for it to become a crime, it has
Yes,
to be proven.
yes.
in a
The reason
court
why
of law.
I was bringing it up was during Uhuru's time, when Ruto had a case for grabbing Muteshi's land, he went through the whole thing. It was step by step, until the case was concluded and Muteshi won. During Ruto's time, you are part of his, you are one of his friends. All his friends, the cases got dropped. Even Waluke, the guy who was in jail for corruption, I think he'd gotten 67 years. All those cases got
No,
dropped.
you are not. You don't.
All those
Let me
cases
correct
got
you.
dropped.
Let me correct you. No, it's also
that's
good.
where I have a problem.
No, it's also not good to make a blanket statement that is not true. Weluke's case was not dropped. The
He was
Kenyan
found
Constitution, has mechanisms to address legal issues. Criminal matters, you are taken to a magistrate's court. You have a right of appeal at the High Court, at the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. Weluke was convicted by a magistrate. The sentence, he appealed before the High Court. The sentence was upheld by the High Court. He appealed before the Court of Appeal. The sentence was quashed by the Court of Appeal. That is a court of law that has quashed it. Nobody dropped it. The cases you are talking about were never heard. And why they were never heard is because they had no evidence. They just kept us in court. Because I was taken to court in 2020. Why was it not heard for 2 years? The magistrate kept the prosecution kept us tomorrow, because they had nothing.
So there was no influence from.
No, I'm saying
executive.
if there was evidence against me, the matter should have been heard in 2 years. Why was it not heard in 2 years? Because we kept on going to court. The prosecution would ask for more time because they did not have evidence. They were even told to supply us with the evidence they have. They never supplied us with the evidence. So by the time we came in, the DCI was saying we were pressurized. We didn't have anything against this man. And then it was dropped.
So what I'm asking is, what's the probability a murder case is dropped, a rape case is dropped, a corruption case is dropped, a what is dropped, and all these are friends of Ruto?
I think I'm the wrong person for you to ask such a question.
All these are friends of Ruto.
No,
You
I am
see,
saying,
by that time they are being brought to Ruto's friend.
I'm the wrong person to ask such questions because I don't think I'm competent to judge. You can only ask me about my own case. That one I'm competent because I know what happened. About other people, I think you're asking the wrong person.
No, I was just saying because the judiciary, like how independent is it and how independent
that one
would
you
it
d-
be
I
under
think
you?
that one-
Under you, because you see,
I think that
you,
one-
You say Uhuru is your brother, but then you also say Uhuru used the judicial system
I
to punish.
am not defending his excesses. He's my brother, yes. The fact that he had excesses does not make him not my brother. I mean, I would be a very bad man to say he's not my brother because he had excesses. But he had excesses. His government use the criminal justice system to settle politics, and it was wrong. But that does not make him not my brother. But he's not president anymore. He's retired. Bygones be bygones. We are through over that phase.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move to something that's very critical for this country, the health sector.
Yes.
When you came in, you're part of the government, so of course you were introducing SHA into the system. What vision was there for SHA, and why do you think at the moment there have been so many issues and challenges and even cases about corruption?
My sister Sarah, I must tell you very frankly that the migration from NHIF to SHA was not a good intention. It was done for corruption. What needed to be done? If you ask Geoffrey Mwangi was the CEO of NHIF before, and they had recommended that certain reforms be done in NHIF, and it be upgraded to be compliant to take care of leaks and abuse. And a study was done, and that upgrading would have costed 800 million. And the system would have been perfect. But a decision was made to scrap it and bring a new system called SHA at a cost of 104 billion Kenya shillings for corruption. That money was stolen. That is why SHA was brought. SHA was not well thought out. And that's why it's not working. And you know it's not working.
Did you ever discuss it when you were deputy?
Well, the only problem, I must tell you very honestly, the Ruto government is a one-man show. He has a group of advisors. He discusses with them, they agree, they implement. Even ministers, the Minister of Health, heard about that SHA from Ruto. It's the ministry, but he's not involved. It is some experts sitting with Ruto who makes that decision. And most of these decisions are influenced by conflict of interest. SHA is not working. And I want to tell you today, because I want Kenyans to ask me, and everything I've said in this country has come to pass. SHA will collapse in 6 months and will be in a crisis of an unknown magnitude. It cannot work. We are collecting 4 billion and paying 7 billion in a month. How can it work? There's no insurance that can work that way because it was not well thought out. It was a scheme to steal 104 billion. That is what was being stolen. And then we got a system that is not working. And everybody in the country is saying it's not working. It's only Ruto, his ministers, and sycophants around him who say SHA is working. You people go around this country. It's not working. That's the truth. And because it was not well thought out, it was a scheme to steal money from the people of Kenya.
And at what point, because I remember it was announced that SHA payments were supposed to go through CDN Bank, yes? At that point, were you in government or out of government?
Well, CDN Bank was bought by William Ruto.
That's what I'm asking. Like, by the time it was announced, the payments had to go through CDN. Were you in government or after you'd left?
Yeah, I think I was in government.
If you knew that...
There's nothing I could do. I'm telling you, my brother, Africa, this government is a one-man show. I was the only man in that cabinet who could tell Ruto no, and that's why he had a problem with me. Because I would oppose many things that were not true, that were not right, that was not good for the country. So, since I left, everything has collapsed.
So when you went for cabinet meetings, what would happen? Because most people don't understand.
Many times, I would chair the cabinet committee. And we would interrogate our proposals and pass the ones that are good for the country and reject the ones that are not good for the country. Many times, when now we go to the main cabinet, most of the things we had rejected, he would overturn, despite us having said it's wrong. Because at cabinet level, cabinet committee that I chaired, you interrogate properly and you take time, you call experts. It's a very rigorous exercise at the cabinet committee. The cabinet is a bit formal. The president is there, this one, Rigiji, mlipitisha hii sawa, hii sawa, hii kwa nini mkupitisha, hii, no, let's look at it, wacha tupitishe tu. Many times he would even approve things before they come to cabinet. He would give what you call executive approval, and cabinet would just adopt the decision without interrogating it. Most of those things and those decisions, like all the money for housing has gone to CDN Bank, that is owned by William Ruto. Money for SHA has gone to Syrian Bank. The Nairobi County government has been forced to open accounts in Syrian Bank, despite the fact that Syrian Bank is a small bank. It's actually tier 3. And the common practice has been that all government funds should go to tier 1. Tier 1 is Equity, Cooperative Bank, ABSA, those big banks where government money cannot get lost. We lost a lot of money in the 80s when they have been invested in these small banks. So a policy decision was made that government funds should be banked and invested in tier 1 banks. Syrian Bank is tier 3, but now, last year, it made a profit of 503 billion. Every month, they are making 21 million every month, And it is conflict of interest. The bank is owned by the president. So he has directed all government monies be put there. And even this money for housing is too much. It's just lying in the bank. The Ministry of Housing have no capacity to absorb those funds because the monies are being collected from Kenyans. And it's billions of shillings. But the Department of Housing has no capacity. Even when I was in office, I suggested that we put some of this money to the National Housing Corporation, which is a corporation has a proven track record of building houses and has a very well laid out infrastructural capacity to do houses. Ruto refused. The money is in the bank most of the time because he's earning interest. It is in his bank.
So how do you correct the health sector? Because this is something that is affecting literally almost all Kenyans.
I am afraid that by the time we take over, this country will be in trouble because if SHA collapses the way I envisage from the information that I have from insiders, in 6 months, what happens? For 1 year before we take office, we'll have a crisis in our hands. And I think we are going to put up a team to start thinking through what we shall do. But in my view, we need to go back to the old NHIF, restructure it to be in tide with the current and modern times, to make sure that we eliminate fraud, to make sure that we see all the loopholes, we see all the leaks, so that it is something that has transparency and accountability. But SHA as it is, I must admit we are in trouble. And I foresee danger ahead. I don't know what will happen to the Kenyan patients. If SHA collapses, and even private insurances have been denied opportunities for teachers, for police, everybody is told to go to SHA. That is not working. I would want a situation where SHA, or NHIF for that matter, is one insurance to compete with others so that there is efficiency. So that you can decide, even a public servant, if NHIF is better, you go to NHIF. If Jubilee insurance is better, you go to Jubilee. Competition brings efficiency. This thing of monopoly is not a good thing, And that is why we want a liberal economy and we want a liberal insurance system in this country. We want to have private insurance firms. We want to have a government body. Let them compete so that people can go to the best. And that way, even a government body will become efficient. But if you force everybody to go to a government body, there's a lot of laxity. And there's a lot of theft by public servants because it's a government institution. I would want a situation where we liberalize health insurance and as many companies can have insurance schemes and everybody, including public servants, including police, including teachers, can make a choice and go to whoever is giving you a good service at the best price.
But if you're saying that SHA would collapse, I think the easier thing would be to seal the loopholes. Because why is SHA collapsing?
Who will seal, my friend?
No, if you're in government. Because if SHA is
I'm
collapsing...
saying it is collapsing when Ruto
if
is
SHA
there.
is collapsing, it's collapsing because of fraud, yes?
Yes.
The few people who've benefited from it, because there are few people who benefited, yes? Like they've gone to hospital and it's worked for them. That means that there are parts of that work. This thing of scrapping everything, like Ruto came in, scrapped NHIF to come up with SHA. You're also saying that if the next government comes in, it's going to scrap SHA, come up with something
No,
else.
but I'm saying it's not working. And you can't correct what was intended to fail. SHA was a scheme to defraud the people of Kenya. I don't think you can reform an entity whose sole intention was to defraud the people of Kenya. You have seen 10 billion shillings has been stolen. Instead of William Ruto following that, he's meddling in the Gachagua family. A private, a family that has nothing to do with the people of Kenya. He's the president of Kenya. He should be concerned with people, with things that concern the people of Kenya, not about families that are having their own dynamics as a family.
Yes, which I think we moved from that.
No, I'm just saying because you are saying that we reform, you cannot reform that whose very composition was meant to defraud. You'd have to, you cannot do, reform something that was done in a way that the objective is stealing from the people of Kenya.
But you understand where you're saying two things at the same time. Because, for example, when you talk about Kindiki, you say he's a yes man, yes? He agrees everything that the president says. But then you also say that when you are in cabinet, the president would be like, we are going to move money through CDN, which you knew is his personal bank, and you'll also keep quiet.
I didn't keep quiet. Now, I've told you I was kicked out because I was saying no. That's what I've told you. I said no to many, many things. Yeah, many things I said no. I would say, like when, we had a very good program on fighting alcoholism and drug abuse. He interfered with it, and I told him no publicly in Nyandarua, in Togino Church. I told Mr. President, please, under your watch, we can't get, bad alcohol being sold to our young people. What is happening, Mr. President, is unacceptable. The videos are there. I told him in public. I
think around that time, what had you said? You said bars have to be closed by a certain time?
Yes, we said we control drinking hours.
But do you think that's good in a secular country? Because it's still a secular country.
Yes.
EABL is still one of the biggest
we are
saying,
my friend.
It's one of the biggest
we are saying people cannot
Kenya.
Drink throughout. Yeah?
Yes. No, EABL is one of the biggest taxpayers in Kenya. So do you know, if you are to do that, you can't also disrupt a whole part of economy?
For your information.
Based on morals.
For your information.
Issue. Yes.
When I stopped illicit alcohol from being sold in Kenya, we collected more taxes from alcohol because people drank good alcohol that is taxable. Most of this illicit alcohol, there is no tax collection. So when I stopped 51 factories that were selling bad alcohol, and there was a lot of counterfeit of the same alcohol that was not being taxed. When we stopped it completely, people went to bars to drink hygienic alcohol and drank more alcohol that is taxable. And actually, there was an increase in tax collection. We never ruled out Kenya breweries. What we did is we said people should drink from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., 6 hours. And then you go home. If you arrive home at midnight, chances are by 7 a.m., you'll be sober and go to work. But this thing of people drinking from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. the following day, it's not healthy for our country. And I can tell you the reforms that I brought into that sector, everybody was happy. KRI collected more. There was sobriety. Young people who were sleeping in trenches went home. Young people who did not have families started having families. It was a win-win situation for the country and for our moral fabric. And everybody was happy. Today, when I go around the country, mothers are in tears. The young people are back to drinking. KRI is collecting less because illicit alcohol is what is available. Cheap illicit alcohol which are killer drinks. People are drinking and dying. There are funerals in villages every week. In every village, 2 to 3 funerals because of excessive drinking. And people are also not working. You find even going to pick coffee. Boys are not available. Picking tea is women who are picking tea because all the young people are out there drinking cheap, illicit liquor. And I told William Ruto, my brother, you say you are Christian. You say you are parent. How do you allow this thing to come back? And I have successfully stopped it. That exercise was 70% successful. And what I was doing is stopping more drinking, illicit alcohol, and mama boys, would deal with the issues of those who are already addicted. It was a win-win situation for the country. And I'm very proud of what Mama Boys and I did for our country. I am very, very proud leader. And wherever I go around the country, people commend me for what I did. And they actually miss that I left office, because when I was there, things were working.
I wanted to ask something else, because there's also a critical thing in this country, and that's the CBC education system. I would want to understand, when you're coming in, did you understand what CBC was and what was the plan? Because at the moment, there's so many complaints about the system, and it would be also important to understand how you would handle that. Yesterday, I was talking to a parent who was saying their kids, I think, are in grade 5, 4, 5, but these children use just one common science book. Like, they're the same grade, but the books are different. So it becomes very hard for parents. So did you understand CBC, and how would you handle it?
Well, thank you very much. When we came in, I urged the president, because there was a big craze about CBC. The teachers did not understand it. There was no curriculum. There were no books. The pupils did not understand it. People did not know whether when the junior school will be in primary school or will go to high school, where it will be domiciled. The educationists did not understand it. So the president, we discussed, and he set up a team called Presidential Working Party on Educational Reforms. And there were very many professors, and I went to launch them at STEM headquarters in Karen. And they came up with recommendations. And when they came up with recommendations, the recommendation was that Kenya needed more time. First, to train the teachers on the new curriculum, to develop the curriculum, to come up with books, and also to provide the requisite infrastructure in terms of the junior secondary school. But the president said, we just go ahead before people are ready. That was what the experts were advising, that we would rather proceed with the old system that is known, that is understood, and this CBC, the concept looks good, but the implementation matrix requires time. We need to train personnel. We need to provide, that is the truth. There's nothing I can do.